Hey everyone, it's Taylor White, your local real estate broker, coming at you for your October market update. So what has happened the last month? It's quite interesting. Rates are now in the 6 to 7s. I actually just had a client get locked in at 8 the other day, which seems so far-fetched from where we were in January. So it's very interesting, the market conditions right now. In my experience and what I have been seeing personally the last 30 days is now rates have finally caught up with the buyers in the market. So oftentimes when you go get pre-approved, you can lock in your mortgage rate from 30, 60, 90 to 120 days. So even 120 days ago, rates were still pretty affordable in the 4s to 5s. And now the clients and buyers that are going out getting approved, are starting to see that 6, 7, or potentially 8%, just depending on their factors and what exactly they're searching for. So also on the listing side of things, we've seen it come into the conversation of this is the most we can offer because the rates are so high, we can't get approved for more. So we are really starting to see it shift now where it is having a direct reflection on what buyers are able to afford, which makes sense. Like when you rise the interest rate, the payment goes up, the debt to income changes, and it allows that buying power to be lower essentially in the grand scheme of things. So that's kind of what I have been seeing in the last 30 days. I've been talking a lot with several different lenders, and what I am hearing is a lot of uncertainty of what the rates are going to do and when they're going to stop. I've heard on a couple different accounts that people wouldn't be surprised if they see rates hit 10% by the end of the year, which seems very crazy. However, if you look at the beginning of the year to where we are now, I don't think any of us anticipated to hit 7% now. So another 3%, 4%, if we're going to be right at 10%. So it's really not going to take long if the feds keep doing what they're doing. So with that being said, I think it's super important that if you're stepping into the market right now, understanding that as a buyer, you can always refinance when the rates get lower. The competition is dying out there. It's starting to come down. I wouldn't say it's like dying, but the competition has definitely shifted, right? So the properties that are move-in ready, turnkey, and the properties that are showing very well and very well kept, those are the ones that we're still seeing go very competitive. And now on the flip side, as a seller, it's becoming very important if you're thinking about selling to start planning now. So start planning 6, 8, 10 months ahead of when ideally you'd like to even list the property. You shouldn't be calling me now saying, oh, I want to list my house in January or February or even March. If you're thinking you want to list your house in the spring, we need to be having a conversation now, if not a month ago, to make sure you're prepared and ready so that way we can list the property in March or April. If you're thinking about listing in fall of next year, now is the time to have the conversation as well, because the market is continuously changing, and we also want to make sure that the more that it does change and becomes less favorable to sellers, we want to make sure that you have the right tools and resources along the way, and you have us in your back corner letting you know, hey, you should be doing this, you should be spending your time here and focusing here. This is going to give you the best return on investment. Now for buyers, it goes with the same thing. I feel like this market right now is very similar to when I stepped into real estate in 2018, where rates weren't as high as they were then, but they were still high. I remember a lot of my clients getting locked in at 4 to 6%, which was pretty normal historically. If you look at the rates historically, that's a pretty normal area that we should be a balanced market. And those clients that I worked with in that time frame, it was nothing to work with a client for 6 to 18 months to find a house. And I know that sounds like a long time, but it does take a long time to buy a house, especially when it's not, we don't just have rates where anyone can walk in and the government feels like they're just giving out money to a degree, because the rates are so low. When you have rates that are higher than normal, or they're kind of in that 4 to 5%, you really have to look at your budget and understand, okay, what is the house that I'm purchasing? What's the investment? And thinking about the long term, thinking about where there's return on your investment in that house, where you can add equity, things along those lines. So The conversation now with buyers has turned a lot more into, okay, what's your long-term plan? Because a lot of that emotional buying has been kind of put on hold because we're not seeing a lot of that emotional buying that we saw the last 2 years. We're seeing more of a holdback of like, okay, wait, I need to regroup and really think and make a wise decision on what the next couple of years are going to bring in this property, especially with the high rates. So with that all being said, I think you guys understand and you get the gist to call us if you have any questions. We are happy to answer anything, anytime. Whenever you have a question just about what the rates are doing, how it's affecting the market conditions, if you're a seller who's thinking about selling in the future, you're all actually sellers at the end of the day if you think about it, because everyone's going to sell their house at some point, and probably buy a house at some point as well. So it's never too early to start the conversation and make sure your budget is aligned, your timeline is aligned with what you need to be doing in that interim period. Because a lot of times people go to lenders or they start down this process the month that they want to list or the month that they want to buy, and they're brutally awoken that we got to hold off and it's going to take 6 months to get there. So we want to make sure you don't miss out on that, and definitely give me a call if you have any questions. And as always, I hope you guys have an awesome day.